Connection secure. We are ready for the final sequence.
Confirmed. All teams, move to the safe zone immediately.
In May 1998, the Central Intelligence Agency possessed total surveillance over the globe. Their multi-billion-dollar KH-11 and Lacrosse satellites could photograph an object the size of a golf ball from space, peering through clouds in the dead of night to monitor every inch of the planet. Then, on the afternoon of May 11th, the Thar Desert cracked open. 3 underground nuclear explosions, including a massive thermonuclear device, detonated with the force of an earthquake. The West had zero warning. In Washington, the reaction was pure shock. President Bill Clinton and the Pentagon were caught completely flat-footed by the tests. A U.S. Senate committee would later classify the oversight as one of the most colossal intelligence failures in American history. A developing nation with a fraction of the budget had blinded the most sophisticated espionage network ever built. But managing the technological blackout was only one challenge. The team also had to weigh the risk of total economic collapse before they ever pushed the button. Decades before those tests, India's nuclear journey began with a dual-track strategy. Publicly, the program focused on energy production through initiatives like Atoms for Peace. But Dr. Homi Bhabha secretly designed the infrastructure to ensure it could be repurposed for weapons development at a moment's notice. That necessity became clear in 1962. A sudden border war with China resulted in a humiliating defeat for India, shattering the government's belief that moral diplomacy alone could protect its territory. The threats continued to escalate. By 1964, China had tested its own nuclear bomb. Then, during a 1971 war with Pakistan, the United States signaled its own hostility by dispatching a nuclear-armed naval fleet into the Bay of Bengal to intimidate New Delhi. These mounting pressures led Prime Minister Indira Gandhi to authorize Smiling Buddha in 1974. This successful underground test was meant to prove India's capability, but it also triggered an immediate international backlash. Decades of neighboring aggression and superpower intervention had provided a clear takeaway for Indian leaders. Physical security required more than just a large standing army. It required a physical deterrent. Global powers responded to the 1974 test by forming the Nuclear Suppliers Group, effectively cutting India off from the global nuclear trade. For over 20 years, India's scientists worked in a vacuum, forced to develop every piece of technology without foreign aid or materials. The difficulty of this isolation peaked in 1995. When India attempted to prepare for a new test, CIA satellite analysts flagged unnatural patterns of digging and cabling in the Thar Desert. Faced with the threat of severe sanctions, the Indian government aborted the mission. The 1995 failure shifted the program's focus. To secure a nuclear deterrent, Indian scientists had to match their proficiency in nuclear physics with a sophisticated mastery of deception. By 1998, time was running out. A global test ban treaty was nearing completion, and if signed, it would freeze the current nuclear hierarchy forever. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee gave Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam a simple order: test immediately and stay invisible. To achieve this, scientists calculated the exact orbits of the KH-11 and Lacrosse satellites. They discovered brief blind spots over the desert, windows of time where the American lenses were pointed elsewhere. During these intervals, scientists moved into the test range disguised in army uniforms. They adopted military codenames, built dunes to hide excavation sites, and relied on the natural desert winds to erase their tire tracks before the satellites returned to the horizon. This strategy meant the world's most expensive surveillance network was bypassed using nothing more than orbital mathematics, camouflage, and the natural movement of sand. Following the 1998 tests, the United States retaliated with the Glenn Amendment, the harshest economic and technological sanctions in American history. To buffer the impact, the Indian government issued Resurgent India bonds. Within weeks, the global diaspora invested over $4 billion, providing a critical financial cushion that stabilized the currency during the initial diplomatic freeze. This financial resilience allowed for a long-term diplomatic strategy. Indian envoy Jaswant Singh engaged in 14 rounds of talks with U.S. Deputy Secretary Strobe Talbot. eventually forcing Washington to acknowledge India's legitimate security concerns regarding its nuclear-armed neighbors. Out of these talks came India's formal nuclear doctrine, credible minimum deterrence. The policy stated that India would only maintain the smallest arsenal necessary to ensure its own defense, governed by a strict no first-use pledge. By 2008, India had completed a nuclear triad, with launch capabilities across land, air, and sea. That same year, the United States signed a landmark civil nuclear deal, effectively accepting India into the global nuclear fold without requiring it to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty. India prioritized its own security over international standing. The 1998 tests established a permanent nuclear presence in South Asia, demonstrating that even the most rigorous technological embargoes and high-altitude surveillance could not prevent a determined state from achieving a physical